What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Phil, and I've got my co-host with me, and your name is?
Hey guys, I'm Sam.
We're Bars and Barbells, and we're coming back to some of the fat electrician. Cannot get over that YouTube name, but
I liked him last time.
oh, he was great. He was
Yeah.
great. I'm just saying the name.
That electrician.
Gonna stick out, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great video that he did last time. Very
really
informative, engaging, comedic.
Yeah, it's so knowledgeable.
Yeah, and lots of great information about Dan Daly, the most gangster Marine of all time.
Now we have the most gangster politician.
Yeah, and
Looks like he has a little sidekick in this one, though.
that's right. Assuming he's a dad, unless that's maybe his nephew or niece or something. But he did a great job, like you said, and you guys were saying that we got to come back to more, and that's we've arrived at Cassius Marcellus Clay, the most gangster politician ever. And Cassius Clay, I know Cassius Clay, that's Muhammad Ali. That was, his born name was Cassius Clay, and then he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. So I think it's the same name as well. Like, I think he might have the same middle name.
That's such a weird pronunciation, because looking at it, I would think it's like Cassius.
Yeah, it's Cassius.
That's so strange.
I mean, maybe at this time it was pronounced different, but I know Cassius
from
Clay
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. But anyway, so I don't know if he was named after this guy.
Maybe.
Because we were reading, he was very much at the forefront of civil rights movements and an abolitionist. So I don't know if that's why Muhammad
Maybe
Ali
it was named in his honor.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, that's what we know basically about Cassius Clay, this Cassius Clay, and excited to learn about more in a way that we found pretty comedic and informative last time with the fat electrician again. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do
All right,
it.
let's go.
It's a riveting story. It was really good. All right, we gotta go. I gotta tell the internet about the guy I named you after, okay? You gotta go hang out with Mom now. Today we're talking about the most gangster politician in American history. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassius Marcellus Clay, aka the Lion of Whitehall. Whitehall being his family home that he grew up in Kentucky as the son of one of the richest slave owners in all of America. While going to college at Yale to become a lawyer, he would attend a speech from a famous abolitionist by the name of William Lloyd Garrison, and that speech would change the entire trajectory of Cassius Clay's life as well as American history. It is at that moment that Cassius Clay decided he was not only going to be quietly opposed to slavery, but that he was actively going to fight against it. He would be set down the path to become the most influential abolitionist of all time. Oh god, forgot to do the ad. Hold on. Sorry for bothering the video. Real quick, this video is brought to you by the biggest sponsor of the channel and my favorite sporting goods store, Shields. They've got over 30 retail locations across the United States and an even better online store that I'm going to have linked down below, and if you use my code, you're going to get free shipping. They've got everything you could imagine there. This is where I got this shirt. It's where I got this backpack. All of it was on sale. It was a great deal. Again, use my code down below. You're going to get free shipping. Back to the video. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to mention, Muhammad Ali's original name was Cassius Clay. Yeah, he was actually named after this guy too. Anyways, back to the video. Bye-bye. If you don't know, at this point in time, there's basically two different camps you could...
There's our answer from our intro, is that he was named after this guy that we're about to learn about, which is pretty cool.
After this guy too. Anyways, back to the video. Bye-bye. If you don't know, at this point in time, there's basically two different camps you could fall into for being anti-slavery. You could be an abolitionist or an emancipationist. An emancipationist is somebody that wants to vote it out over time, over the next 5, 10, 20 years, versus an abolitionist, which is somebody that believes we need to end slavery right now, and they're willing to fight about it. And in the case of Cassius Clay, he was willing to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. You see, Cassius Clay wasn't just some nobody punk kid that went off to college and decided that he didn't like slavery. This was the son of one of the wealthiest slave owners in all of America. So for him to come out and voice anti-slavery views was a huge deal, and it pissed off a lot of people. So, being that this was the 1820s, what do you do when you're pissed off? You challenge somebody to a duel. So needless to say, the young Cassius Clay found himself partaking in an awful lot of duels, and he never, ever lost. So, obviously he's pretty good at it, and what do you do when you find something you're pretty good at? You want to keep doing it, right? Right. So Cassius Clay starts challenging anyone and everyone to a duel that dares to oppose him. It became common knowledge in his community that Cassius Clay would be willing to fight the wind if it blew from the west and he wanted it to blow from the east. This man went on a dueling rampage, so much so that by the time he graduated college, he was considered to be the deadliest duelist in all of North America. This guy was put...
What does he mean by duel?
Like a fight.
I don't know about that. A duel? Like, I mean, a duel to me can mean a few things. I guess it could mean a fight, as you were alluding to. It could also mean a debate. It could also mean like a duel of like swords or guns.
I would imagine it's probably like something like sword related, or like to me like a duel. I mean, they're fighting to some capacity.
Well, yeah, but you would think of like the Wild Wild West. A duel would be with your gun, and I don't think he's referring to that.
There was guns in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what a duel is. Maybe
to me, it's a fight to some degree, especially if Muhammad Ali was named after him.
What do you mean?
Well, if did they know Muhammad Ali was going to be a little fighter?
Yeah, when he came out of the womb, they knew that he was going to be. I think you got your timelines mixed up there, because it'd be different if he. If it was reversed, right? If he was named Muhammad Ali and changed his name to Cassius Clay.
Yeah.
But
true. Fair
he was
enough.
called Cassius Clay when he came out of the womb.
Yeah,
so
fair,
they weren't like, boxer.
Yeah. Maybe they just knew he had boxing in his genes.
Maybe. Anyways, let's get back to the video and see if we find out what dueling actually means.
And he wanted it to blow from the east. This man went on a dueling rampage, so much so that by the time he graduated college, he was considered to be the deadliest duelist in all of North America. This guy was putting slave owners in the dirt like he was Johnny Appleseed planting fucking trees. He became known as the deadliest abolitionist of all time. So he graduates from college, goes back home as a lawyer. Shortly after that, his father passes away and leaves everything to Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay immediately frees all of his father's slaves, costing himself $40,000, which is roughly $2 million today. And then he even gives some of the slaves land and money on top of it, absolutely infuriating the pro-slavery people in Kentucky. So what do you do when half the local population hates your guts? You run for public office, and that's exactly what Cassius Clay did. He served in the Kentucky State Legislature from 1835 to 1841, and then finally lost his re-election, to which the pro-slavery crowd breathed a huge sigh of relief because they finally defeated Cassius Clay, or so they thought. Clay immediately starts traveling the country, giving amazing anti-slavery speeches, winning over hearts and minds, and this absolutely infuriates the pro-slavery people because they don't know how to stop him. You can't legally stop a guy from talking to people that want to listen to him, and they can't legally kill Cassius Clay in a duel because he's the best duelist on earth. What do? You've got to illegally kill him. The problem with that...
So I think that they're talking about, like I said, the Wild Wild West duels. I think that's what they're referring to.
Like a shoot-off?
Yeah. Like take 10 steps, I take 10 steps, we turn and we go...
Interesting.
I don't know what the justice system looked like at this time and whether that played a role, but it sounds like nobody wanted to mess with them because...
So whatever, who can shoot each other faster?
I think so. So we just looked up what dueling he was referring to, and yes, it's the dueling.
I'm mind blown right now. That's wild.
I don't know the details of that, so add it down low if you want to add any insights as to what this time period looked like.
I was envisioning like sword fighting or like maybe a couple punches.
He was a legit duelist. Like I didn't even know these people existed for real.
I kind of thought that was just like over dramatized for like movies and westernized novels. And stuff.
And I thought it was kind of more of the wild, wild west, meaning like it wasn't a part of everyday culture. It was just like some people on the
crazy
off chance would do.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go.
Stop a guy from talking to people that want to listen to him, and they can't legally kill Cassius Clay in a duel because he's the best duelist on earth. What do? You've got to illegally kill him. The problem with that is they can't find a hitman that's dumb enough to think that they can take out Cassius Clay, so they have to go to the one crevice of the planet where they can find somebody truly insane enough to think that they can do this job. And that man's name was Sam Brown, an assassin from New Orleans. 1834, Russell Cave, Kentucky. Cassius Clay's finishing up one of his world-famous speeches as he pulls out a burlap sack. He reaches into the sack and pulls out a holy Bible and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of God, I make to you this argument against slavery." Sets the Bible on the table. Reaches back in the sack, pulls out a copy of the U.S. Constitution and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of man, I present to you this argument against slavery." Sets the Constitution down on the table. Drops the burlap sack to the ground and says, "For those of you that believe in neither the laws of God or man, I make to you this argument against slavery," as he pulls out both of his pistols and sets them on the table, which I think we can all agree is gangster as fuck. And at this moment, Sam Brown comes up on stage and shoots Cassius Clay point blank in the chest. Luckily, Cassius Clay never leaves home without his trusted Bowie knife, which resides inside of a metal sheath. And that metal sheath would catch Sam Brown's bullet, saving Cassius Clay's life. At which point, Cassius Clay would draw his Bowie knife and charge Sam Brown. 6 of Sam Brown's friends in the audience tried to stop Cassius Clay, he would fight his way through all 6 of them, making his way to Sam Brown, promptly stabbing him in the chest, and then turning him into a Mr. Potato Head by cutting off his nose, lopping off his ear, and gouging out one of his eyes. Then the 6 men recovered and were able to peel Clay off of him. Not knowing what to do, knowing they couldn't stop Cassius Clay forever, they panicked, probably for fear that Cassius Clay was going to start shoving this guy's facial features up his ass next. They did the only thing they could come up with to get the two apart. They picked up their friend Sam Brown, threw him over a 7-foot-high stone wall. He fell down an embankment and into a creek bed to finally get Cassius Clay away from him. Somehow, Sam Brown survived, but not only was he lucky for that, he was also dumb as fuck because he then decided to take Cassius Clay to court because apparently after Cassius Clay stabbed him the first time, they were even on the whole assassination attempt thing, so Cassius Clay should go to prison for mayhem. So Cassius Clay calls upon his older cousin, one of the best lawyers on the planet that had never lost in open court with over 40 years of experience, Henry Clay. Henry Clay goes into court and his entire defense for his cousin is, and I quote, "Your Honor, this is just standard behavior for a Kentuckian." And the judge is just like, "You're innocent. Free to go, that's it. Best court case ever." Literally walks in and just goes,
"I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America."
So after Cassius Clay was found innocent, Henry Clay decides that he's going to run for president and Cassius is going to help him campaign. Cassius is going to tour the country giving speeches saying, hey, you know, vote for my cousin. Here's the rule with that. Henry Clay told him he's only allowed to tour the northern states because he's actually legitimately concerned that if he sends Cassius to the south, he's going to shoot so many fucking slave owners in duels that it could be considered voter fraud. So Henry Clay ends up losing the presidential election and Cassius...
This guy is wild, man. Duelist that just like takes on everybody.
Every slave owner in America.
The most badass things you could say: if you believe in the law, then you should follow this Constitution. If you believe in God, follow the Bible. And if you don't, then I got these 2 pistols for you. Like, how much more gangster can you get than that?
Seriously, oh my gosh. And he cut off some guy's nose and ear.
And they're so worried that he's just going to go on a rampage against slave owners that that they're forbidding him to go down there.
Yeah, seriously, voter fraud.
Clearly passionate about his views as an abolitionist. Slavery must stop now, and if it doesn't, well,
I will
got
kill
these
you
for
or cut off your ears and your nose.
Doesn't get much more passionate in terms of views than that.
Concerned that if he sends Cassius to the south, he's going to shoot so many fucking slave owners in duels that it could be considered voter fraud. So Henry Clay ends up losing the presidential election and Cassius moves on to his next life adventure, which is becoming an author and writing anti-slavery news articles. The problem with that was none of the newspapers were willing to publish him, so he says, fuck you, I'll start my own newspaper, The True American. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, starting an anti-slavery newspaper in fucking Kentucky in 1845 was not very popular, and his business would receive death threats pretty much every day, some of which were written in blood. So Cassius Clay, in true Cassius Clay fashion, says, fuck it, I guess we're gonna fight about it. He then proceeds to up-armor his entire business and his printing office. He covers the entire front of the office in a large iron sheet. He installs several cannons down corridors, stocks the entire thing with loaded guns, and rigs it to explode. Here's the thing, he also doesn't expect his employees to fight to the death for him, so he installs an escape hatch and instructs them to escape if anything goes down, because he's gonna fight the entire mob by himself. How's he gonna do that? As soon as you walk in the only door to get into that printing office, you find yourself in a long, narrow corridor with iron on each side, just wide enough for a single man to get through. Cassius Clay is gonna stand in that narrow corridor and fight the entire mob one man at a time. Literally the mentality of, if you have a problem, take a number, I'll kill you in a minute. This man recreated the entire Battle of fucking Thermopylae with 300 Spartans, except he's gonna do it all by himself. If you think fucking with John Wick's dog is a bad idea, the last thing you want to do is fuck with Cassius Clay's printing press, because this man is determined to defend the freedom of speech with the right to bear arms at any cost. Obviously, this escalates to Cassius Clay defeating an entire mob single-handedly. Right? Wrong. The mob, being full of, you know, super brave pro-slavery men that know they're doing the right thing, do the honorable brave thing and wait till Cassius Clay is bedridden with typhoid fever so they know he isn't going to show up. They show up to his business at night and burn the place to the ground because they're a bunch of fucking bitches. Now, Now, Cassius Clay recovers from typhoid fever. He reestablishes a newspaper in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is an anti-slavery stronghold. The only problem with that is being an anti-slavery stronghold, there's not going to be any conflict, and that's fucking boring, so Cassius Clay moves on to another life adventure, volunteering in the Mexican-American War. While serving in the Mexican-American War, he would be a captain leading a group of Kentucky soldiers, and they would be captured pretty much immediately, and he would spend the duration of the entire war as a POW. While serving as a POW, some of the men under his command would escape, meaning that the Mexican military was then going to put the rest of his unit to death. Cassius Clay said, hey, don't kill my men, just kill me and my other fellow officers, we're the ones in charge. It's our fault that those men escaped, it's our responsibility, please let the lower enlisted men go home. The Mexican military was so impressed by this that they decided to spare everyone, including Cassius Clay, and he would return home a war hero. Returning home from the war in 1848, he didn't really know what to do, so he starts giving his famous speeches again, this time leveraging his newfound title as a war hero. So obviously it doesn't take long for him to piss everybody off. He faces yet another assassination attempt. This time 6 brothers from a wealthy slave-owning family show up, the Turner brothers. They show up with clubs and knives and guns, and they beat the living shit out of Cassius Clay with the clubs. They stabbed him multiple times. Cassius Clay whips out his trusted Bowie knife, starts opening up these brothers like they're fucking Amazon packages, making his way to the lead brother and stabbing him an excessive amount of times. We don't know how many times, but we do know it was a lifetime supply. Killing the lead brother, ending the assassination attempt, Cassius Clay would fall to the ground, nearly dead, and this would be the closest anybody ever came to actually killing Cassius Clay. When he was asked about it later on in life, all he said was, I felt the utmost indignation, which translates to, I was fucking annoyed. This man almost died from an assassination.
Oh
I felt
God.
the utmost indignation. I was annoyed. Great way to summarize it, but this guy does sound like a total badass.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, you know, so many
Accomplished a lot in
experiences.
his life.
I just can't even, you know, put it into words because I can't relate it to anything that I've experienced in my life and today's world. You know, I just think about how hard this guy must have been to have, you know, dudes coming at you with knives and clubs and like surviving that, going to war, being a prisoner of war, surviving that, you know, surviving.
He did more things in like 1 decade than most people do in their entire life.
The surviving duels, like, you know, that alone is dangerous enough. So I guess that's where you get to that point of laughing in the face of danger.
Yes, seriously.
Where he's like, well, that was annoying. And you just don't worry about dying, I guess.
Cutting
at that
open
point.
people like Amazon packages.
What are your thoughts on Cassius thus far?
I think he's crazy. Like, it just, for me, him, the Dan Daly guy, even like doing the video on Alexander the Great, like all of these people from history, it's like they accomplished so much in their life, so much adversity, and still just went out and went after what they were passionate about and what they wanted to accomplish. And it's like you think about that and like compared to what people do in today's world. It's like half people go through their life just going through the motions, going to work 9 to 5 every day, and then, you know, life's over. It's just crazy how different it is.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's why people live a lot longer today, right? Because there's not so much chaos in the world.
Yeah, people trying to kill you at every left, right, and center corner moving around.
This literally sounds like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like he's living in the Wild Wild West, and that's the way life was.
Yeah.
And you just had to be the baddest of the bad if you were
Ready to
gonna
kill
survive.
anybody at any given moment.
Yeah, and in order to survive, you have to
Putting bodies in the ground, like planting, what do you say? Planting apple trees.
Let's find out how the story ends.
Which translates to, I was fucking annoyed. This man almost died from an assassination attempt, and he has the same attitude towards it that I have towards fucking fruit flies, okay? This dude is so metal, he deserves his own spot on the periodic table of elements. Cassius Clay then makes a full recovery from his injuries, starts giving his speeches again. 1853, he donates a large chunk of his land to John Fee, who uses it to found Berea College, the first co-educational and multiracial college in the South ever. Fast forward to 1860, Cassius Clay is giving speeches in Illinois where he meets a politician by the name of Abraham Lincoln, and they get along great. Cassius Clay is then slotted to become Abraham Lincoln's vice president. However, he's a little bit too Cassius Clay to be an actual big-name politician like that, so they give the job to Hannibal Hamlin, and Cassius Clay becomes the ambassador to Russia. 1861 rolls around, the Civil War breaks out. Cassius Clay is in Russia. Cassius Clay not only convinces Russia to not side with the Confederates, but he convinces Russia to tell Great Britain and France that if they so much as recognize the Confederacy, Russia will go to war with them. And this was a humongous step that nobody talks about in the winning of the Civil War.
Never
And it
heard
is
that
100%
before.
because of Cassius Clay. Fast forward to 1862. Abraham Lincoln wants to appoint Clay a major general in the Union Army. Cassius Clay publicly refuses the President of the United States, saying that he's not going to do it until the President signs the Emancipation Proclamation freeing the slaves of the South. Cassius Clay is literally the man that bullied Abraham Lincoln into prematurely signing the Emancipation Proclamation before he wanted to. And nobody talks about it. Fast forward again to 1865, the Union wins the Great American Scrimmage, the slaves are freed. Cassius Clay has achieved his lifelong goal at the age of 55, bringing an end to slavery in the United States of America. He then goes back to Russia again to serve as ambassador until 1869, and while he is there, he helps to broker the purchase of Alaska. This man is probably the most influential person in American history that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
After returning home from Russia, Cassius Clay would live out the rest of his days in Whitehall until the age of 80 years old, where he would be declared clinically insane, in hindsight most likely due to a severe amount of PTSD, as well as potentially dementia. He didn't die from it, he lived on for quite a bit longer. He just picked up a new hobby of fucking with the local sheriff because he was crazy now. Over the course of the next decade, Clay and the sheriff would have multiple run-ins that would be concluded when the sheriff and 7 deputies were repelled from Whitehall when Clay utilized his home defense cannon that he had at the top of his stairwell. At that point, the local sheriff would inform the local judge he will not be returning to Whitehall to tangle with Cassius Clay anymore unless the judge was willing to dispatch an entire company of the local militia to accommodate him. Then in 1900, 2 men would break into Whitehall, and Cassius Clay at the age of 89 would manage to kill both of them, one by gunshot and one, yet again, with his trusted Bowie knife. Then in 1903,
89.
at the age of 92, Cassius Clay would die of natural causes, or as they called it back then, general exhaustion, which is the most gangster way on the planet to go out. Literally just, I'm tired now, peace, and then he left.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
In conclusion, when it comes to famous historical household names, there's always another man or woman lurking behind the scenes in the shadows that's deemed too rough around the edges to be in the spotlight, yet they contribute just as much, if not more, to the movement. These men and women are willing to do horrific things for terrific reasons, and when it came to Abraham Lincoln and the abolition of slavery, that man's name was Cassius Marcellus Clay, the most gangster politician in American history. Thanks for watching the video. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
That's crazy because I was just saying about what people accomplish in their lifetime, and we were saying, oh, people didn't live as long then, but it's like he lived to be 92.
Yeah, he lived longer than most people do. Longer than the average age today.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, especially
and killing people at 89.
That's so wild. Think of any 89-year-old today being able to kill off 2 intruders. This guy was the badass for sure that I have never heard about.
It's wild that like nobody talks about him.
I mean, yeah, like I said in the beginning, I was so confused. Like the Cassius Clay I know of is Muhammad Ali, and it's crazy. Like no disrespect to Muhammad Ali, obviously an influential person in himself, but when you compare their lives, you know, what this guy did is insane. Like,
I'm surprised nobody's like making a movie about this guy's
yeah,
life.
agreed. Maybe there is a movie out there and we just haven't caught wind
There
of it.
is, and you know about it, comment it below.
But I'm just blown away by this guy. Like, you know, the facts that we learned, obviously, from the fat electrician here was great, and totally agree with him that, you know, I've never heard his name mentioned once, but is probably the most influential person that is in the history of the United States. I mean, without him, like he's saying, like maybe a lot of this stuff doesn't play out the way we know it today.
For sure.
And you literally had to have that like no nonsense, no BS attitude, just like not scared of anybody or anything. And man, I wish like I had somebody in my life like him growing up, because I don't think anybody would have met, like, you know, it's one of those things where you learn from people and you kind of emulate them a little bit. And, you know, I mean, obviously you could have got yourself in some trouble being around him too. But there are things like we had said where, you know, we look at people today and the hardness of like not just the physical side of things, but the mental side of
Yeah.
things. Like to
Yeah,
go
the mental
through
toughness just isn't there.
Yeah, the mental toughness of what he had to go through and just act like it's nothing. Like I can only envy that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the Fat Electrician did a great job at delivering all that again, like keeping it very concise, to the point, telling the story very well, keeping you engaged, bringing some, almost like sarcasm humor in there, right? Making you laugh a couple times, some good analogies. So I think he does a good job. I like his videos.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Did a great job, and hopefully you guys enjoyed us checking this one out. You guys recommended that we do this one. We came to it, and hopefully you enjoyed it with us. And a great video at that. So let us know where you want us to go next. I know he's got a lot of videos, seems to be dropping new content all the time. So make sure you go to his page and support his channel as well as ours. We appreciate that, and I'm sure he does as well. And make sure you hit the like button for us. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let us know where you want us to go next. We got music, comedy, sports, and history on the channel. So we'd love to have you with us if you decide to get on the wagon. We'll see you
come join
tomorrow
us.
with 2 more videos.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you then.